Welcome back to the Dr. Cliff Show. In today's episode, we're covering everything you need to know about Oticon hearing aids. Coming up. Dr. Cliff Show. I'm Cliff Olson, Doctor of Audiology and founder of Applied Hearing Solutions in Phoenix, Arizona, and I am here with my co-host.
Hi there, I am Kelsey Beck. I am the audiology resident at Applied Hearing Solutions in Phoenix, Arizona, and I will be filling in today for Dr. Rachel Cook as co-host. We have a really exciting lineup here today. We're going to go over the history of Oticon hearing aids. We're also going to go through all of their available models, from their receiver and canal, their behind the ear, their power behind the ear, their BTE, some of the custom in the ear devices as well. We'll go through the features, the connectivity, the accessories, all of the really fun stuff, as well as some of the tinnitus management strategies that they employ as well. Usually, I am behind the scenes doing a Q&A, monitoring of all of the questions that are submitted online. I will do my absolute best to continue to monitor them. If I am less responsive today because I am actually hosting, I apologize, but we'll get to, again, as many questions as we possibly can during that live.
Yeah, still leave your questions. I mean, we'll check them out, maybe periodically if you've got time, but we're going to be talking a lot. We have a lot of stuff to cover today, please leave your questions. The more contextual they are to Oticon and their platform and stuff that's specific to them, we'll more than likely be able to get to those particular questions. Also want to ask you guys to like and subscribe if you like us doing these live shows. And yes, we are live as we record this, so any mistakes that we make, there's nothing we can do about it. Can't go back and take it back. So, but before we get started with today's show, let me go ahead and get into our first sponsor. So we are talking about the Oticon product lineup today, but if you missed our first episode in this series where we're talking about all the major manufacturers, you might want to go back and check out our first episode where we talked about resound hearing aids. Now, one thing that's going away inside of the hearing aid world is a stigma associated with the use of hearing aids. You ask a lot of people now and they're like, yeah, I don't even notice that there's a stigma anymore, kind of like eyeglasses. But Oticon, they have a good product line, but Resound, they have some of the smallest receiver in canal devices that you can find out there. They just released their new Resound Omnia Mini Re, which you can check out here. It's the smallest one in that product lineup. It is still rechargeable, and if you don't want hearing aids that interfere with your glasses or your masks or a hat or anything like that, you might want to get the smallest receiver in canal device that you can find, and this is right up there with the smallest of them. And like I said, you can still get rechargeable with this, and you get all the same great features as the rest of the products in the Omnia lineup, which includes their front focus feature, which gives you up to 4.5 decibels of signal to noise ratio improvement, which is massive, and that's compared to their previous generation of technology, which was also fantastic when it came to background noise. Now you get to experience this groundbreaking technology from Resound in whatever style of hearing aid that you want, because it is literally spread out throughout all of their custom products, their receiver in the ear products, as well as their BTE products. Now, if you want more information, make sure you go to resound.com, or you can check out my reviews on my website, hearingup.com.
All right, well, thank you for that lovely sponsor plug. We're going to jump right into the history of Oticon and the company itself. In 1904, it's actually a Danish company that was established by Hans de Mont. And this is a really cool story that I really enjoyed, is that he was inspired by the Danish-born Queen Alexandra, who actually wore hearing technology at her husband's coronation. And he was very inspired by this because he wanted to improve the tech that was available, because his wife also had a hearing loss. And so it's really interesting that is the thing that spurred him into starting this company to bring hearing technology to others. In 1910, his son, William, actually took over the company and began manufacturing the devices in Denmark. And then in 1965, Oticon Core was established with locations in Germany, in the US, in Scotland, Japan, Italy, Norway, and Switzerland, and France. Later, they also established facility in China, but they are still based out of Copenhagen, Denmark. Excuse me.
Yeah, and so when you look at this company of Oticon, they are really under the Demant umbrella. And so Oticon is just one of the brands that you can find inside of this Demant family. And so you can see all the different hearing aid brands that they're responsible for. I do want to point out that they have a cochlear implant on there that is not available inside of the United States as of right now, but it is available internationally. And then they also own a variety of other retail locations and diagnostic equipment suppliers and all of that. Now, we do want to jump into the market share because we've been trying to share the market share data with you guys. Some of the other brands, they have a certain amount of market share, but if you look at William Demant there, that is the market share that they hold, and Oticon is within that. So if you want to look at it in terms of popularity of technology, one would look at that and say, well, they are right up there in terms of popularity for how often these devices are dispensed amongst hearing care professionals.
Oh yeah, and we dispense Oticon all the time in the clinic. It's probably one of our more used devices as well. Purely, I mean, it really tracks with the market share data that we just looked at in that graphic as well. But they also are responsible for a lot of firsts because this company does have a lot of history. And so their first hearing aid system called the Acousticon Church Hearing Aid with a double microphone, 4 earpieces, is actually shown on the screen here. We were just saying as we were looking at this graphic that it looks like we pulled it right out of the Titanic.
That's right. It was underwater.
But yeah, you can see that the hearing aid technology used to be body-worn devices where you would be able to have the earpieces, but then it would pick up from a device that would actually set near your chest area. And then we have flash forward to 1940, their first hearing aid was during World War II. And then they had the first in-the-ear device in 1977, which was one of the bigger pushes after we had the new hearing aid technology. And then even after that, we had the Digifocus, which was their first digital device, which was available in a completely in-the-ear device and a behind-the-ear device.
Yeah, and fun fact about that, I literally just purchased one of these on eBay for like $100, the one on the left there, the behind-the-ear device. And I'm going to see if I can still program that thing, but I might actually have to buy an old computer as well, because I don't know if our computers nowadays will even support the software for that particular hearing aid.
That is a fantastic question.
Yeah, I know I can get the software because I've got some connections, if you know what I mean. But yeah, it's kind of interesting how far technology has come. That was 1996 that the Digifocus was released, and it was their first digitally programmable hearing aid, or like fully digital hearing aid that they released, and it was right after one of the products from Widex called the Widex Senso, but that's one of the early ones that they had there. Now, if we fast forward again to 2007, they launched the Epoch. This was 2 hearing aids that continuously communicate with each other, giving you a more natural soundscape. So a lot of the modern wireless hearing aids nowadays, both of those hearing aids will communicate information back and forth, which is very beneficial in a lot of different situations, particularly background noise, to help give those hearing aids a better understanding of which direction sound is coming from.
Yeah, it definitely helps to give you a more not totally 360, but it gives you definitely a more natural way to go ahead and listen to sound, and it really does approximate better how your ears actually work pre-hearing loss. Speaking of which, now in 2016, Oticon actually released their Open Sound Navigator, which built off of this idea of the 2 hearing aids talking to one another, to actually give you a 360-degree notion of what your world looks like. And so we actually have a graphic here, something called blinders, and so this was the more directional. You got to focus on the one person in front of you, while the rest of the background noise in this type of scenario would actually be dampened. But with this Open Sound Navigator that they released in 2016, you actually get sound from 360 degrees, and you still get an emphasis on the speech that you're actually trying to understand. And so it really gives you a way more natural soundscape even than the Epoch did, which was a huge advance at the time in 2007 as well.
Yeah, and so if we go from that, that was actually revolutionary, because the strategy before that really was to put these blinders on hearing aids and really just focus on whoever you're looking at, where you're going to use massive directionality and try to block out everything else. But what people felt like is they felt like they had blinders on. Like, well, I want to be aware of stuff that's going on around around me when I'm in a noisy situation, but I still want to hear the person in front of me. And so that's where Open Sound Navigator really kind of changed the game. And you see some other manufacturers starting to trend a little bit in that direction. And like, yeah, maybe we need to give some more spatial awareness when we're in some background noise. But really, Oticon was the leader when it came to that. And then 2021, there was another first for Oticon, and that was their deep neural network for sound processing. Now, when we think of deep neural networks, they exist everywhere inside of our world. The post office uses deep neural networks, different information systems use deep neural networks. I bet you Amazon is using deep neural networks like crazy. Sure. But when you think about this for sound processing, typically there's a limitation when sound engineers are programming hearing aids for how to process sound. So they have to build these algorithms, and they have to define like what makes speech and what makes noise based on looking at all this data. And there's limitations based on that. Like if I'm trying to explain two different pieces of fruit, and they're both round and they're both red and they both have stems on them and they both, have seeds and all of that, and you're like, well, that's great, Cliff. You just described two of the same fruit. And I'm like, well, no, they're actually different, but it's hard for me to describe what the differences are between them if they're similar. With a deep neural network, you can feed both of those pieces of information, or like the images of those pieces of fruit, and actually have the deep neural network assign thousands and thousands, if not millions, of different similarities and differences between them, and then it determines what makes them alike or different. And this is how they do it with sound. So they actually fed, I think it's like 12 million sounds through their deep neural network to perform deep learning, and then they were able to better identify what made speech and what made noise to help them make these hearing aids function better in a background noise situation.
Absolutely, and it definitely is probably the only, or if not even just the best that's out there as far as still giving you as much access 360 as far as hearing aids go, to then be able to also still understand the speech that's coming at you. So restaurant listening, when you want to be able to hear, the waiter or waitress coming up behind you, or, the person sitting across the table from you, but with a directionality and those blinders, you really get the person who you're looking at, versus someone comes up behind you and you might have awareness, but the clarity is not there. And this really serves both masters in trying to get access to both speech inputs. So
yeah, it was crazy. So I know that you weren't in grad school yet when this hearing aid came out, but I think I was in grad school when this whole concept of being able to focus in on what you want to hear and not have the surrounding sound distract you, but you still have access to it. They actually gave us these 3D like glasses, right? Oculus or whatever it was, and they would put the hearing aids in your ears, and literally wherever you would look, they would simulate like, okay, well, this is more traditional directionality, and you only get to hear what you're looking at. And then they simulate it with using the open hearing aids, which is the ones that they had back at the time, and it really kind of like, oh my gosh, I can still understand who I'm looking at, but I'm aware that this person over here to my left is trying to get my attention, so I can switch my attention over to them. It was, I think that's probably one of the reasons why it was such a popular hearing aid back in 2016 and continues on through today.
Absolutely. Again, the biggest complaint we ever get is, I need to be able to hear better in background noise. And so they really are trying to go ahead and address that. Speaking of which, we can get into some of the hearing aid models as well that Oticon currently has in their lineup. Something important to note, again, is that they do have, like all other manufacturers, they have tier levels. And so you have top tier, second tier, third tier, and they even have their Zircon or their budget tiers as well that have a tier 1 and a tier 2, which is essentially a tier 4 and tier 5 device. So you do have options, and again, as you go down in tech level, it does take features and customizations away from your provider when we're doing the programming. But again, it is our job to make sure that we are getting the most out of any tool that you give us to work with. And again, all of these technology pieces are all great, and so it is our job, again, to make sure we've optimized and thoroughly gone through each individual programming option that we have to make sure that you get the best experience out of your hearing aids.
Yeah, so always go with the highest level of technology that you can reasonably afford. That way we have the most tools at our disposal to optimize your hearing. Does it guarantee you'll hear better with a tier 1 compared to a tier 2? There's no guarantee for that. There is a guarantee that you're potentially leaving benefit on the table, though, when you do that. Now, let's get into some of what they do. So Oticon typically will release on a new product line, they'll release their mini right hearing aids. These are the ones that are receiver in the canal, the most popular type of hearing aid when you start looking at it globally. More people wear receiver and canal devices than any other style. And so they released those initially. And we just came off of the More hearing aids. So a few minutes ago, I was talking about the Oticon Open back in 2016. This deep neural network came in 2021. That's when the Oticon More hit. And we have some images of the Oticon More up here. Again, an extremely popular hearing aid. It came in rechargeable, and it came with a 312 battery, disposable battery with a telecoil option. Now, both of these also had telecoils, the rechargeable and the disposable, which is really nice. I love having telecoils inside of hearing aids. But they also just, I mean, we're talking, what, 2 weeks ago now?
Not even 2 weeks ago.
They finally released a new line of devices called the Oticon Real. And the images of these are going to look very similar. I know you're thinking, like, Cliff, those all look the same. I'm like, I get it. But there is a green one now. So that...
I'm thrilled about the green one. I promise you, if I was getting hearing aids tomorrow, the green one is the one that I would select. I think it is the best neutral color that is out there. Everybody can disagree with me if you want. I honestly think that is the coolest addition.
I'm super partial to it too, because being military background, the olive drab kind of color. Yeah, I mean, if I was going to be getting this hearing aid for myself, I would definitely go with the green.
I'd also say it's very trendy right now as well. So if you are a very trendy individual and you want your hearing aids to keep up with the color trends of the day, olive green, go for it. It's there, it's available.
Now, these all still use the same deep neural network that we had in the Oticon More. They all use the same open sound strategy where you're not being cut off from the world around you when you go into a background noise situation, but they still do give you a significant improvement in hearing in a background noise situation. This is assuming they've been programmed correctly. I want to make sure that we have that caveat here, because I had people come in all the time. We had a patient come in today who was like, I wear these hearing aids, I couldn't function in background noise. And I'm like, well, they're good hearing aids, but they're not likely set up the right way because you possess the ability to hear well in background noise. But some of the stuff that's new is that we have the More Sound Intelligence 2.0 and More Sound Amplifier 2.0. So what's one of the first things with that we see an improvement with?
The very first thing that we see an improvement with is the wind and handling stabilizer. So what this actually does is one of the most difficult things for hearing aids to program out is wind noise, because it is essentially taking your fingers and rubbing over the microphones because it is a physical contact with the microphone. And so what it does is it helps to mitigate the negative effects of the wind touching the microphones, or when you actually touch the microphone. So people who play golf, for example, one of the biggest complaints we get is, yeah, I love my hearing aids, but that wind starts coming in and I can't hear who I'm golfing with. And so that is one of the biggest advantages. And I think even you said that when you were wearing these devices, it was way better.
Yeah, when I was reviewing these, so I don't even have the review up yet. That's how recently I reviewed these. Probably next week is what I'm guessing. We've got to get it all edited and cleaned up for you guys. But I wore them outside and it was windy. We've actually had a lot of wind here in Phoenix over the last couple of weeks. And I step outside and it's really windy. I'm like, man, I'm not catching the wind noise like I normally do off of hearing aids. And I was even talking to someone, and when they were talking to me, I'm like, well, I can still hear them, because usually what they do is like, oh, there's wind, let's just soften all the volume of everything. And I was still able to understand speech among the wind noise, which was nice. But the other thing that I love is that the handling noise reduction. So you can physically touch the hearing aids, and we've all done this because we put glasses on, take them off, we put on hats, we put on headbands, we put on masks, maybe not as much now as what we used to, but the scratching sound is super annoying. And this has solved a lot of that problem. I still do hear a little bit of like a sound when you touch it, but other than that, it's like it takes away all that rustling sound of your hair and glasses.
I was gonna say your hair is probably a big one too. I mean, I also have very long hair, or even men's hair. Like if it gets a little bit too long in between haircuts, that rustling over the microphones, that's definitely going to improve with this new line of devices. So fantastic upgrade in the wind and handling stabilizer. The other thing that they actually added as well is the sudden sound stabilizer. So this is for things that are loud impulse noises. So someone banging really hard quickly with dishes in the kitchen, or a dog barking, doors slamming. Those things can be very aggravating, especially at first when you're first adapting to your hearing aids. And so these will actually allow us to go up to 5 different levels of different sudden sound stabilizing, so you're not getting as bombarded by these quick impulse sounds, and it actually works very quickly to soften all of those. So also a really wonderful improvement in this device as
Yeah,
well.
that's one of those things where if you have someone with hyperacusis or they have a sensitivity, maybe not to the extreme of hyperacusis, but they have a sensitivity to loud sounds, having something like this in there to soften these really sharp impact sounds is very, very beneficial for them. And we don't have to turn it on or turn it off. We have a varying degree of what we can employ with this, because sometimes you're like, well, I don't want to take away all of these other sounds around me, but some of the really bad ones, maybe you put on a mild level of this, and then other people you just want to put it on full max,
Right.
because every sudden sound bothers them.
Right,
And like
exactly.
you said, this is something that you might use early on in your treatment, but as your ears and brain get used to sound coming in, you can start backing this off gradually.
Absolutely. That adaptation period is so key, and it does take 30 days at a minimum for your brain to really acclimate to all of the new way that you're trying to get your brain to hear. And again, you'll have a good provider who's also going to take this with you step by step, and they will also be able to understand when it's time to start backing that off, when you can handle it, in addition to the fact that we want to make sure that your brain is getting the stimulation that it needs as much as it can tolerate. And so that's one of the considerations that your provider will also walk you through.
And so we also have spatial noise management. Now, this is probably one of my favorite things to talk about of all time, because we're talking about binaural squelch. And I know you're thinking like, Cliff, don't get all technical with me. You just got done talking about a deep neural network and I have no clue what you're talking about. If that's you, make sure that you go watch my Oticon More review, or wait another week to catch my Oticon Real review, where I explain deep neural networks a little bit more easy to follow with pictures and all of that. But when we talk about binaural squelch, basically this is the human brain's ability to identify which ear has a better signal to noise ratio. So if we're in a noisy restaurant and you're sitting on my right hand side and I have a bunch of noise on my left hand side and I'm trying to listen to you, my brain will be like, well, I can hear Kelsey's voice better in the right ear than I can the left ear, so I'm going to focus in on the right ear. So with this spatial noise management, it allows these Oticon hearing aids to identify which hearing aid has a better signal to noise ratio and primarily focus in on that ear, and that can be a game changer when you're in a noisy environment.
Oh yeah, and again, this is one of the things that your brain does automatically, without any kind of a hearing loss, and your brain still has the capability to do this, but to have the device also support that natural phenomenon is great.
Absolutely. And then we also have the More Sound Optimizer. Now, this is the same, but we felt like we should be mentioning it because it actually works really well. I mean, we fit a lot of individuals with a high frequency sloping hearing loss, and they have good low frequency hearing. And so if we want to preserve that low frequency hearing, we want to fit them with more of an open fit so those natural low frequencies can come into their ear just like they do right now. But we want to be able to boost up the high frequencies, sometimes to a very large degree. And if you don't have good suppression of feedback, then that becomes a problem when fitting individuals who have these high frequency hearing losses.
Absolutely. And so when you do fit someone with a high frequency hearing loss that does have really good lows, you want to use something like an open dome, which we do have a graphic of as well. That way we can allow these natural low frequency sounds to still enter your ear canal naturally, but then we just blend in those mid and high frequencies at a very precise amount. That way you know that you're getting the best possible chance to actually understand what is going on, and you're not worried about running into feedback, because if you're running into feedback, then one of the options is really just to crank down the high frequencies, which then defeats the purpose of actually amplifying the high frequencies.
Yeah, might as well not even wear a hearing aid if you're not
Exactly.
going to give you what you actually need. And when we talk about hearing better in background noise, that's one of the big things, is that people need more high frequency in a background noise situation, because that's what helps your brain separate speech from the noise. And we just went through all this testing today with another patient where we're doing a high frequency emphasis, and what happens when we emphasize the high frequencies?
They
Their
do really
performance
well.
does much better in background noise. So, but there are some individuals that would do substantially better. I just released a video just the other day talking about how in some cases you do not want to use rubber domes. You want to use a custom ear mold. And so Oticon actually has a really nice custom ear mold called the Micro Shell, and we have a graphic of that here as well. So this would attach into your Oticon Real or Oticon More hearing aid, and it allows us to trap in more sound inside of the ear canal and then create a custom vent size if we want to allow some venting there. But I've just got to say, Oticon hearing aids, in my opinion, with all the hearing aids that I work with and test all the time, they do a much better job of hitting high frequencies, both with a rubber dome and with a custom ear mold.
Oh, absolutely. And I would say the exact same thing, that and especially too when you consider someone who does need an open fit. I mean, honestly, right now, there's nothing that can beat it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So that, I mean, even if there's other features you have to give up by going with Oticon, if you have a steeply sloping high frequency, sometimes it's just worth it to give up those other things because you'll hear substantially better if you're hitting your prescription better.
Agreed. Okay, so it is time for our next sponsorship segment. So we're actually talking about Eosera and their Earwax MD. This is a product that we use all the time in the clinic, and we also do provide it to patients who do have very stubborn earwax. This will break down the wax inside your ears with just a few drops. You'll wait about 15 minutes, and then they actually do provide a small bulb syringe to go ahead and flush out your ear once you know that it has been sitting long enough. You can also then hop in the shower as well, let the water pressure in the shower do its job there too. But eosera.com for more information. You can also purchase them at CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, and most national retailers. So it's available in a lot of places, and if you have stubborn earwax or you need earwax consistently removed, go ahead and try out that Earwax MD.
I think a lot of people think that as audiologists, we're like, don't do anything at home with your ears, come to see us so you can pay to have us do it. And I'm like, I want you to do as much at home yourself as possible. So I have as little work to do on the earwax removal side and as much time reserved for the hearing aid side of things.
Absolutely. And then too, if you is someone who does have very stubborn wax, which we do see all the time, you know, getting that softened up before you even come to see us, then it will make your experience much easier. And then again, we can focus on all of the other things that we need to focus on in your appointment time.
For
as
sure.
well.
That actually happened today. Ironically, we had a patient
Exactly.
use Earwax MD last night 2 times, came in today. All the dried hard earwax inside of his ear canals just came out
right out.
2 seconds, and we were on to fitting him with his replacement hearing aids.
Yeah.
So it worked out great. Okay, so thank you, Sarah. Let's jump into what we're going to be talking about next. We have behind the ear hearing aids. So we actually have some BTE hearing aids in the Oticon Real model as well, and these come in rechargeable as well as a disposable battery with a telecoil. We do have a graphic of these that we can put up on there.
Yep, that's the whole family.
Yep, on the left-hand side there, we have the mini BTE Rs. So those are the rechargeable version for the... the mini rights are on the left that are the rechargeable and the size 312 battery telecoil, but the 2 on the right, those are our mini BTE models. And then the left side, one of those in silver, that is the one that uses a battery. And then we also have the one on the left. I'm just messing this all up, guys.
It's all
Bear
live.
with me, okay? It's live. The one on the left-hand side in the silver of the BTEs, that one's rechargeable. The one on the right is disposable battery with a telecoil. Now, you can only get these in certain power levels as well. We have 85 gain receivers with those, but we also have the option of the open, but that's a previous generation.
Yeah, it's 2 generations back as far as the platforms go, but it does allow us to get a lot more power in there. It has a 105 decibel receiver, which I know is pretty technical, but essentially if you have that severe to profound hearing loss, that is going to be a device that might be more appropriate for your hearing loss to make sure you get all of the benefit that you need out of that device. And again, it still has that open sound navigator, so it is designed to be open, hence the name Open S. But there we go. So you still have the benefit of getting that more of a 360-degree worldview soundscape. Then we also do have the Power BTE, which is still a few generations back as well. It's called the Exceed. It's on the Velox S platform. We do have a graphic of that as well. That is, it does run off of a 675 batteries.
Yeah.
Man, your word stuff is all contagious today.
So the problem with this is that some of these products are super old at this point. I don't want to say it like in a negative way, but hey, I don't have any other better way to say it. So these came out years ago. They're still on the Velox S platform, which is not one of the new platforms that we have.
It's 3 platforms back. But the good news is that even with severe to profound hearing loss, we do have other technologies that do have the capability of using 100 dB receiver. So you still can get a really good fit with some of the newer technology as well. And so don't fear. Just make sure that when you do go into your hearing care provider, when you do your consultation, you are talking about the newest technology, what is available, and they will also walk you through what is the most appropriate for your hearing loss.
But I have to complain about every manufacturer at some
course
point
you
in
do.
all of these videos. I mean, I just wish, and these were great when they first came out. They were some of the most powerful BTE hearing aids that you could possibly purchase on the market and still have a good amount of stable gain in there. But if they're going to be coming out with these new tech levels and all of that, these new platforms, I'm like, let's get some BTE action in here. Let's get some of the ultra power devices on the same platform that we see all this new tech coming out on.
Absolutely. And I can see skipping one generation of technology, but I can't foresee any really logical reason for skipping two. So fingers crossed that in the Real platform we get some BTEs, power BTEs, not just the mini BTEs as well.
So if we go on, we have all these BTE devices, which is great, but we also have the custom in the ear. Now, the custom in the ear, they are newer models. They're not on the Real line yet, but we do have the Oticon Own, and we have the graphic of those. These are on the Polaris chip, not the Polaris R like the Oticon Reals are. So these are on the same platform as the Oticon More. Now, to be fair, the Oticon More was one of my favorite hearing aids in the history of hearing aids.
Absolutely. And then the other thing too about the Oticon Own is that they actually do have, again, because they do have some of the best feedback management, you can actually get more powerful receivers into these devices to hit more severe hearing losses while still getting some venting good. That can be good for some of those high frequency losses. But then again, you also have to have the space inside of your ear in order to house a larger receiver as well. So there's always trade-offs in this game of hearing aids, but again, I will say that with their feedback management and their ability to get those receivers into the ear, even a smaller ear, the Oticon Own really does pull a step up over a lot of the other custom products that are on the market.
When you look at sizing, they have a IIC, a CIC, and they keep working their way up through like half shell, full shell, and all of that. If you go with the really, really small ones, like the IICs, you're going to lose any kind of wireless connectivity. They do not communicate back and forth with each other from ear to ear. You're giving up on all of that, but you get a really tiny hearing aid that fits deeply into your ear canal and is relatively invisible.
For sure, but then there's other things too. Again, more technically speaking, you do get benefits from being able to utilize the cues from your ears as the sound is funneled into your ears like it has been since you were a kid. And so there are benefits even without having that communication back and forth that you do still get that you wouldn't get with like a behind the ear device as well. So there are benefits to going even with the very small devices.
Right. And if you are willing to go up in size a little bit, you still get the wireless connectivity in some of like the half shell and full shell versions of these devices, but they have to have enough space inside of your ear to fit the Bluetooth antenna to be able to do that. But you get to go into the new Oticon app that they have, the Oticon Companion app, and do streaming from your phone on phone calls. You can be hands-free. You can adjust your volume. You can do remote sessions with your hearing care professionals. There's a lot of different stuff you can do, even with the in-the-ear versions, which not a lot of people realize they can do.
Absolutely. The other cool thing is that you can, in order to get these devices, we do have to custom form them to your ears, and so we can do the old-fashioned silicone ear mold impressions, which we do have a graphic of. There it is. We used to have to put this putty inside your ear, and then we pull it out after it turns more hard, and then we can go ahead and send that off to Oticon to make your custom product, whether that is an Oticon owned device or it's a custom ear mold like a micro shell. But we can also do 3D digital scans now as well, which is a really cool piece of technology that I actually wasn't even really taught about in school, because it is one of the newest pieces of technology where we actually can use this laser, and there's 3 different lasers inside of it, and we can actually get a 3D rendering of your ear, send that off to the manufacturer, and it actually speeds up the process for us to be able to get that custom device back.
Yeah, you know us. We like to have all the fun toys inside of the clinic. And you tell me laser anything, I'm like, sign me up. We're shooting lasers in the clinic for sure.
Oh, boy.
But one of the reasons I love the digital scans is because it's very clean. We're not having to inject anything inside of someone's ears. We can guarantee that we've got a nice deep impression. We can see what we're scanning while we're scanning it. When we're done with the scan, we can see what the scan looks like, so we don't send a bad scan or a bad impression off to the manufacturer, to increase the likelihood that we're going to get a good hearing aid when it comes back.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I like about it too is that because we're not physically directly inserting putty into the ear, there's no risk of us expanding the ear canal or manipulating any of the actual tissue that's in there to where we could end up with an ill-fitting device. And so I really like the scan for that purpose as well.
And those lasers actually burn through earwax, so even if you have little amounts of earwax in there that you might think would throw off this scan, they don't. That the lasers go right through the earwax and actually gets a good representation, 3D representation of the ear canal to the specific depth that we want to get for whether you're male or female. It's different for both of them, but and it's cool. Like, I've never had anyone watch us do it and be like, that isn't the coolest thing they've ever seen.
Yeah, because you can actually watch it on our computer screen as we're building the scan, so it's always a fun like show and tell moment in the clinic as well.
That's awesome. Now, you don't really need to do digital scans to be following best practices. You can follow best practices doing physical impressions, and sometimes we have to do physical impressions based on the ear. But this is why I really started the Hearing Up Network, is because if you want these hearing aids to be working the best they possibly can, you need to make sure that you're going to a hearing care professional who follows comprehensive best practices. And this is really why we're doing this show, because we want you guys to know all of the information before you go in to see your hearing care professional. But a lot of people are like, well, I don't know who a good professional is to go into, and that's why we started the Hearing Up Network. So every single person in the network follows comprehensive best practices. If you're confused about who to go to, if you don't know if the person you're going to is good, go to hearingup.com and look up a hearing care professional in your local area. All right, so we do have to talk a little bit about Oticon Medical. Now, we do not work in the world of Oticon Medical very much. I did when I was an extern, because I worked at a facility that we would fit, the bone-anchored hearing aids, and they did not have cochlear implants, but they do actually have a cochlear implant processor. Now, this is outside of the United States only. You cannot find this inside the United States. I did mention that a little bit earlier when we were showing the representation of all the companies that were owned by Demont, but we can also get a bone-anchored hearing aid from Oticon Medical. It's called the Ponto 5. We do have a graphic of the Ponto. Oh, no, we don't have a graphic of the Ponto 5. So let's say, what is a bone conduction hearing aid then?
So a bone conduction hearing aid actually bypasses the middle ear space. So the middle ear actually houses the 3 smallest bones in the human body, and that actually transfers this vibration of sound from the outside world into your hearing organ, which is your cochlea. However, if you have any kind of issue regarding the bones inside your middle ear, suddenly none of that sound can get through, or it can't get through at an appropriate level for you to be able to process that sound. And so what a bone-anchored hearing aid does is it actually goes and is surgically implanted behind your ear and the temporal bone, and what that will do is it actually sends vibrations directly into the cochlea to go ahead and bypass the damaged system in the middle ear. And so you get a much better hearing experience than you would with, for example, a hearing aid in a lot of cases, because you're not bypassing, because you are bypassing the actual bones that have some kind of a malformation or, otosclerosis or anything like that.
Yeah, so if you have essentially a conductive hearing loss, this is one of the best ways to treat a conductive hearing loss. You have an option between bone-anchored hearing aid, or you could try to fight through it with a traditional hearing aid if you really want to, depending on how much of a conductive loss that you have. But it also works good for single-sided deafness as well. So if you happen to have a hearing loss in one ear only and you hear no sound there, that vibration of your skull as that bone oscillator vibrates, it will transfer sound over to your better hearing ear, and you actually hear in your better hearing ear even if someone's talking on your bad side. So that can be a benefit for individuals with a conductive hearing loss as well as single-sided deafness.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the hearing aids and the hearing devices themselves. Let's talk a little bit about features and connectivity and accessories here. So all of, I think we mentioned this earlier, but all of the behind-the-ear models, the RIC, the receiver and canal, and the behind-the-ear traditional BTE models, they do all have a telecoil. Whether or not you go rechargeable or if you go a battery-powered device, they all have a telecoil in them, so you can tap into a public space that does have a hearing loop. In the U.S., they're a little bit less common, but I know especially overseas, Europe especially, has a lot of access to telecoils in their public venues.
Yeah, and you can find a way to cheat the system too. If you go to a public venue and they only give out a pair of headphones that plug into like a little black box, you can actually unplug the headphones, plug in your own telecoil neck loop. You can buy them on Amazon for like $40, and then loop that around your neck, switch on your telecoil, and all of a sudden you've created your own hearing loop through their transmission system. So that can be very beneficial. Then you hear at your prescriptive level.
Absolutely. I've heard a lot of benefit too, especially in movie theaters that do have this option. You really just get the audio from the movie directly into your ears at your prescriptive level. So it's essentially like you have your own dedicated stream exactly at the levels that you need it at, so you get good clarity out of the movie theater itself.
Yeah, and I do want to mention here really quick, because I don't know if we actually have this in our show notes, but from a compatibility with Cross, you can use the Cross transmitters from the previous More line with the Oticon Real line, which is fantastic, because a lot of manufacturers, they come out with their new products and they do not make them compatible with their Cross transmitters.
Yeah, it's always the last thing I think that we get is
I know,
Cross,
or not at all.
Exactly.
Right? And so, and Oticon is one of my favorite companies to fit from a Cross standpoint. It's between them and a couple other companies,
right,
but they're one of my favorites. So I'm glad that we still have that capability with them. But another feature that I really like about them is their battery options.
Mm-hmm.
So you do get a disposable battery option if you'd prefer to have disposable. You get a rechargeable battery option if you want rechargeable. But the rechargeable batteries, instead of them being completely encased inside of the hearing aid that you can't get them out if they malfunction, you have to send them back to the manufacturer, you can actually take them into your hearing care professional. There's a little trap door on there that we can open, replace the lithium battery in the office, and that way you don't have very much downtime if you're having a malfunction with your battery.
Yeah, really the only downtime that you really have is they don't come fully charged once we take them out of the packaging, the new replacement ones. So as long as you put it in the charger for, even an hour, you'll get, I think, 12 hours of battery life just by charging it for an hour. So you're really in the clear. I believe that it's 30 minutes and gives you an extra 6 hours worth of battery life from Oticon hearing aids. So really a great option as far as batteries go. The other thing that they do well is tinnitus, and they actually have multiple different types of tinnitus masking strategies. You can still use a static noise, what I believe it is a white noise that they have in their system, and then they also have ocean noises as well, and they do have a few different options as far as the ocean noise as well.
Yeah, and I found those to be very relaxing when I was reviewing these products. I popped that ocean noise for my tinnitus masker, and I was scripting my video, and I'm like, this is just very pleasant. I feel like I'm at the beach. And I do have tinnitus, and I was like, I wasn't paying attention to the tinnitus. I was listening to the ocean waves. So
absolutely.
That was fun. But of course, they do have connectivity as well. So you could stream ocean waves into the hearing aids really if you want to. Now let's talk about connectivity a little bit here, because this does matter. These are made for iPhone hearing aids. So you can stream directly from an iPhone, an iPad, or a tablet, right?
Mm-hmm.
iPad. Right?
iPad. You
okay,
got it
there
right.
we go. I'm more of a Samsung guy. I hate to admit that here. But you can stream that directly into both of your ears. But if you are an Android person, you can still do the streaming. You just have to use the Astra Bluetooth protocol. And if I'm being honest, I do not like using the Astra Bluetooth protocol if I can help it when we're using hearing aids in general, not just Oticon.
Mm-hmm.
I do not like the Astra Bluetooth protocol. I find it to be relatively unstable compared to the made for iPhone as well as Bluetooth Classic.
Yeah, absolutely. And even today I had someone who has had ongoing issues with their Bluetooth and their Android phone. The good news is that they do actually have a different accessory that we'll talk about in a little bit that you can actually use as an intermediary device, as well as another type of remote microphone that actually does stabilize the connection much better, because the streaming device essentially is made for your hearing aids, and then it also has access to the Bluetooth Classic as well, and so it makes for a much easier streaming. So there are options if you do have an Android phone, and it will still pair. It still pairs with their app as well, but again, if you are having challenges, there are workarounds for it. And again, hearing aids are still meant to treat your hearing loss, and like we've said earlier, there are very specific hearing losses that are best treated with an Oticon hearing aid, and so don't let that piece be the thing that makes or breaks your decision, unless it is the only thing that you care about.
Absolutely. We argue about it in the office on the regular, and because I do Android stuff, everyone else does Apple.
He's the only one who's still using Android.
And here's the thing, I need to keep using Android so I can get perspective on what the issues are if you're going to use made for iPhone technology with Android and all my reviews and
fair.
stuff, right? So Oticon did come out with a new app with this product launch as well. They now have the Oticon Companion app, and this did eliminate the Oticon On app as well as the Oticon Remote Care app. And the other thing that was eliminated when going to the Oticon Companion app was the use of the if this then that. So the Internet of Things that you could set up workflows and stuff, no one was using it, so they're like, we're just going to get rid of it. Mm-hmm. And I think it's called the Hearing Fitness portion of the app. No one was using that, so they just got rid of it and they simplified it.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think it has a much simpler, clean look to it. Honestly, it really matches the aesthetic of the style of the days. What I will say, I also really like how you can change different programs on it. It's more of a drop-down menu, and you can still slide it to the sides as well. So I personally really like that app. I will say that the one downside is that it is not yet compatible with the Apple Watch. So with the Oticon On app, you were able to make changes in control of your hearing aids with your Apple Watch. If that is still something that you would like to do, don't fear. The Oticon On app is still available, and I do anticipate that the Oticon Companion app will actually have that capability in the near future.
All right, so let's talk about some of the accessories. You had alluded to one of those accessories a little bit earlier.
I did.
But we do have a graphic showing some of the more popular accessories from Oticon. Top left corner, you have the TV adapter. This is what allows you to stream audio directly from your TV into both of your Oticon hearing aids. And I must say that if you want to hear TV better than you've ever heard it in your life, get yourself a TV adapter for either Oticon hearing aids or whatever hearing aids you use, because direct audio input is always better. Then you have the Connect clip in the top right-hand corner. This is that intermediary device that you were talking about that you could stream through. And you can also use it in a restaurant situation or noisy situation. You clip that onto the shirt of the person you want to hear, cuts through the background noise.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is terrific.
Yeah, and we've talked previously about signal-to-noise ratio loss scores. And so if you're not familiar with this particular concept, essentially what it tells us is how much louder do you need someone's speech to be over the background noise for you to be able to hear and understand what they're saying. These devices, a remote microphone, can actually have the capabilities of reducing that score by 9 points. So you could even have better than normal hearing in background noise with a device like this. And so absolutely worth it for a background noise improvement.
Yep, and you also can use the phone adapter to stream audio from a landline phone directly into both of your hearing aids. And then the device in the bottom left-hand corner, what was that? Let's put that graphic up again.
The remote control.
Of course I forget that, because everyone can use their phone to adjust. But if you're the type of person who's like, you know what, Cliff, you're an Android person, but I'm not any type of phone person. And
or a flip phone user even.
Or a flip phone user, right? And so getting a remote control sometimes can help if you have finger dexterity issues and you cannot click the buttons on the back of the hearing aids. But then we have this kind of like superstar accessory that we call, I think it's called the EduMic, right?
Oh yeah, the EduMic. That is one that is commonly used amongst students in a classroom setting. And if I'm not mistaken, you can actually pair multiple sets of hearing aids to the exact same EduMic, and that way a teacher can actually tap into multiple sets of hearing aids if they need to in their classrooms.
Yeah, and you can also tie in other devices to the EduMic to give you access to streamed audio from maybe a device that doesn't normally stream. So that's a really nice addition there for them as well. So that pretty much wraps up what we have for the Oticon product lineup. Make sure that you guys start putting questions in there. And while you guys are putting in those questions, I'm going to be talking about our last sponsor for today. So now Oticon is a great brand. Obviously, we just got done talking about all the great things that they do from a hearing aid standpoint. But that's if you need prescription hearing aids. Some individuals can get away with using over-the-counter hearing aids, or maybe you're looking for that initial first step into treating your hearing loss, and an over-the-counter hearing aid would be appropriate for you. So if you have a perceived mild to moderate hearing loss, then you could take the route of over-the-counter. Now, the Sontro receiver and canal hearing aid from Soundwave Hearing, this is one of those over-the-counter hearing aids. And one thing I really like about the Soundwave Sontro is its app controls, including the Auto-Tune app. So you see the hearing aids there, you have the app there. On the app, you can actually do a hearing test. That right there is the result of one of the hearing tests that you would take through the app. But it also allows you to adjust between different things inside of the app as well. You can adjust between different programs, different volume levels. You can adjust a 3-band equalizer. You can enable noise reduction and feedback cancellation. If you get over-the-counter hearing aids and they do not have an app like this that allows you to control their settings, I would strongly recommend that you consider the Soundwave Sontro hearing aids instead. The controls that you get inside of the Auto-Tune app will allow your hearing care professional to optimize your settings if you're having trouble doing this yourself. But that's the great thing about this, is you can actually manipulate settings to what you feel like are most appropriate for you, or to what a hearing care professional feels are most appropriate for you. You can learn more about the Sontro devices at hearsoundwave.com, or you can check them out on my website, hearingup.com.
All right, so thank you very much again to Sontro and Soundwave for that wonderful sponsorship segment. However, I am also looking through the comments of the two live streams, both on Facebook and on YouTube, and unfortunately, we've had some streaming difficulties throughout
Oh.
today's episode where we're really not actually getting a really great signal to our viewers, so I am deeply sorry for all of that. We do have a couple of questions that were able to come through during this stream. I'm just going to pull them up here on my computer. The first one is, what controls do you get with the Oticon app?
So some of the more basic ones are you can adjust volume up and down. You can change between different programs. One thing I really like is that you can adjust the streaming equalizer. So a lot of people are like, I'm listening to music and, I feel like I need some more highs or I need some more lows. Oticon is one of those manufacturers that allows you to adjust that particular stream inside of the app. You can also toggle on live listen mode, so you can take your iPhone, if you have an iPhone, okay, and you can set that closer to the person that you want to hear, or you can leave it behind in a room as a spy device and walk into a completely different room, find out what your cat is up to when you're not in the room, and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, too, the other thing that Oticon app does really well is... Oh, I totally just lost my train of thought. I am so sorry. That is okay, because the next question that we have is, which hearing aids are better, Phonak or Oticon?
Both. It depends. It depends on a couple of things.
Yes.
Let me clarify here. Anytime you're looking for a hearing aid to solve your hearing loss problem, the first thing you want to make sure that you find is someone who's actually working with that particular brand of hearing aids. Because if you bring in some off-brand hearing aid that I've never heard of, or even a prescription hearing aid that I don't work with very much, and you bring it into me, I can probably get you by with that hearing aid. I follow best practices and do a pretty good job with that. But if I'm not extremely familiar with the capabilities of that device, then you're not going to get as good of a result with me as you might with somebody else. So if I only work with Oticon, if I only work with Phonak and I never work with Oticon, I might not be the best person to go to. But you also need to make sure that you go to someone who follows
best practices.
Right? So if you're going to a hearing care professional and they're not following best practices, I don't care. You can get $1 million hearing aid. I don't really care. It doesn't matter, because you're not going to optimize the performance of those devices unless you go to someone who follows best practices. And so what I would say is you go in through a comprehensive hearing evaluation and consultation with a hearing care professional who follows best practices. They will identify all the nuances and specifics of the things that you want and what your capabilities are from a hearing standpoint, and then they will make you the best recommendation possible. And it is very smart of you to go with their recommendation.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, too, is that when we are making recommendations, we are taking all of those things into consideration, the things that are most important to you, and then as well as what is most appropriate for your hearing loss. And so anybody who does follow comprehensive best practices is going to do that evaluation, not just in their head, but also with you and walk you through that decision-making process. I'm also really grateful to this next questioner, because they actually jogged my memory of where I lost my train of thought a moment ago. So their question was, I have to adjust my hearing aids in the app all the time. How often do people actually adjust their hearing aids with the app? And this actually goes with what my train of thought was earlier with how many controls do you get with the actual Oticon companion app. Truthfully, the biggest control that you get is really volume. And really, if I've done my job correctly and I have done real ear verification where I know that you're meeting your prescription and I've followed comprehensive best practices to a T, have not skipped steps, truthfully, most of my patients don't really make that many adjustments. They might change the volume every now and again, depending on whom they're speaking with. Like, for example, they'll turn their volume down when I'm speaking because I have a very loud voice, no matter how much I try to control it. And then the other piece of that, too, is that I'll give extra programs when they're necessary based on what you're reporting to me. And this is just my way of thinking about it. But really, if I've done my job appropriately, you really shouldn't be needing to make adjustments more than 3 or 4% of your time.
Yeah, and there's some people who love to make adjustments
that's true
inside
too.
of the app.
Yep.
If that's you, the Oticon app is not the right app for you. It really isn't. They try to simplify it, but again, their hearing aids and their automatic, like their general programming that we do, I mean, 99% of the time we can dial in these programs and maybe give you 2 or 3 variations of them, but you're not going to have to venture outside of that very often, again, as long as they've been set up the right way. A couple of other few things that you can do. I'm just trying to think as I'm going through the app in my head, because it's a newer app, and I mean, we've not lived our lives inside of it like we have with the Oticon On app.
Correct.
But you can also see what your battery life is inside of there. You can also find your hearing aids.
I was just going to say, find my hearing aids. Again, if you have an iPhone, the Find My Devices app is actually applicable inside these hearing aids because they are for iPhone specifically. And so that you can have a geolocation of the last time your hearing aids actually connected with the app. So again, you want to make sure that the location services are actually turned on for the Oticon Companion app. I do typically turn it on for patients. That way they have it no matter what. But again, I will always walk through that decision making, and I don't just go and changing settings on people's phones without asking.
We're tracking you. We know where you live.
Yes, no, it doesn't actually store any of that data. So we're not tracking where you're going. We're not tracking your phone calls. It does allow us to track, your data as far as what soundscapes you find yourself in, and then what adjustments you make while you're there, and that is it.
Yeah, and that's another great thing that we actually didn't have time to mention today. I'll just touch on very briefly is that the data tracking inside of the Oticon Real hearing aids is substantially better than what they had in the Oticon More. We can see a lot more information that helps us program your hearing aids better. So when you go out and you use your hearing aids, even though you can't make a whole lot of adjustments inside of the app, we can see the different environments that you're in, and we can tell, like, okay, we need to start doing this with our programming to help you out more in these types of situations.
And again, we couple all of that information with whatever it is that you're perceiving and whatever feedback you give to us. Our ability to be really good at our jobs heavily depends on how much feedback we actually get from our patients. Because if you come in and tell me everything is fine, but really there are some problems, even if you don't think that we have solutions for them, we might, but I can't fix something that if I don't know it's a problem.
That's right, and that's why we dig so much. If you're one of our patients, you know that we're just grilling you with questions like, how's this, how's that? Everything's fine. I'm like, no, I don't believe you. Let's find what's wrong, right? So, all right, guys, that is all the time that we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I apologize if there was some technical glitches with it, but you can catch us every Wednesday here at 4 p.m. Arizona time. Get ready because your clocks are going to change this upcoming weekend. So we stay the same. Everybody else changes. Keep that in mind. But you can find us on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and WTSM TV. And as always, we'll see you next week.